I can't do it. We'll do it live. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Mister, will you please wake up?
You golden blank staggered black skeleton of blinking black broke, are you trying to do? Of all that low dirty...
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Oh, yeah!
A ground ball past Jenks up the middle of the infield. Uribe has it. He throws. Out! A White Sox winner and a world championship! The White Sox have won the World Series, and they're mobbing each other on the field.
Holy smoke! Do you believe it?
I certainly do believe it. There it is. I certainly do believe it because my pop and I cried when that moment happened. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tripped Out Thursday edition of Snowman in the Morning. You'll see my face in just a moment. My partner will join me in just a moment. We got a loaded show for you today. Michael Antonella's at the bottom of this hour. And then Chris Pirtle, Chris Dietz, and Michael Constacio will take us through some chatter in hour number 2. And I forgot what the heck button I needed to push. I'm sorry about that, folks. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Now you can see me. And good morning. If you want to donate to the show at any time during the show, you can do so at paypal.me/snowman2172. Well, the Lakers lost again. Good for them. And we saw, I'm not going to say for the first time we saw LeBron's true colors because we've been seeing them for 19 years. And people don't want me to say that, especially you-know-whos don't want me to say that we've seen LeBron's colors for 19 years. Anybody remember 2004 against Atlanta when they were at home? Don't want to remember that, do you, Bronsexuals? Ah, darn, I cursed. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. Well, last night during the game in Houston, and congrats to my partner's Rockets, there was a situation where LeBron drove into the lane like a weak bull in a china shop, got a pass away to Russell Westbrook, and he was broke at the rim, and LeBron just stood there like he was in shock that Westbrook missed the layup. That is one of the most heartening things to me, to see this team that LeBron put together, that he put together, fall flat on its behind. And I mean more than once, because that should have been a win. That should have been one of those get-right games for the Lakers. If they stand any kind of chance, of making the play-in round, screw the playoffs. If they stand any kind of chance of getting to the play-in round, and that's going to require a miracle, then that's a game they needed to win. That's a game they needed to win. That's a game they should have won. Let's just be real. That's a game they should have won. And they didn't. They got it to overtime after trailing by as many as 8. But then, they didn't do anything in the overtime. They didn't do anything in the overtime. They got outscored 19-10. Houston scored the first 10 points of the overtime before the Lakers even scored. And by that time, game, set, match. I know there was a lot of free agency madness in the NFL, and people still believe Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be traded, although I saw a trade that could happen involving the Indianapolis Colts, and I think if I am to believe that he's going to be traded, I think he's going to be traded to the Colts. And that's if I am to believe that. That's a big if. And I'm going to save all of that. I'm going to save all of that for Friday because it is Friday and it's a football Friday. It's a football Friday. So all of the football news that has happened this week, I am saving for Friday's show. Today, it's all about the NBA and about a certain game that I'll talk about later that should involve Ben Simmons, but it won't. I'll speak on that to close the hour. But Laker Nation, why do you continue to support men like Carmelo, like LeBron, like Westbrook, and Anthony Davis when they don't win? And I hate putting Anthony Davis in that group. I hate putting Anthony Davis in that group. Listen to me carefully. I hate putting Anthony Davis in that group. But I'll be doggone if he isn't one of the causes of this problem. And now, here's our co-host, Cole Johnson, joining us this morning. I had to use the banner. How are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm ecstatic because the Rockets beat the Lakers in the Summit. I mean, the Toyota Center. I'm sorry.
I wish it was the Summit.
You and me both. It should be. It should be the Summit. They should have just called that the Toyota Summit or something.
Yeah, I agree. I saw that, and I was elated in not necessarily because the Rockets won, but more along the lines of it fed into the narrative that I actually painted yesterday on my video, talking about how people get excited over LeBron having this one wonderful performance in 3, because ever since that win at home against the Warriors, 2 L's,
big L's, big ass L's.
Yeah,
and those 2 L's happen, which lead to this.
In a world where partial greatness is celebrated and total greatness is shunned, there stands to be a figure on the lips of those who love him and those who hate him. The inane comparisons to Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant continue and has existed since 2003. There is no end in sight, for the battle between those who unconditionally love and unconditionally hate him wages on. These are their stories. Welcome to the Bronsexual Confessions.
what did a Bronsexual
My partner's
do
intro
now?
said 2003.
Mm-hmm.
That intro said has existed since 2003. You need to make a correction. It's existed since 2002, when he really got shoved down our throats. But that's just me. I digress.
All right. So what did a Bronsexual do?
Started a conversation with a couple of
Oh Lord.
Started a conversation with a couple of bronsexuals.
Not a couple of them. Oh Lord.
And yes, a couple. I had a couple of bronsexuals. And these fools, I don't want to cuss today. I really don't. I really, really don't want to swear today. Because I swore more. I've sworn more this week on the program than I usually do. And you've ridden shotgun with me since November. Okay?
Yeah.
I really don't want to cuss today. But the fact that this is a bronsexual confession that must be done, it goes like this. These fools still believe that the Lakers can not only make the play-in game, can not only win the play-in game, but LeBron will be the reason. And here I go off kilter again. I responded with a very simple question. It's a question you know quite well. Are you out of your rat-picking mind? Look, there was a talent only, I think it was Sig Diggy who said this. Talent only goes so far, but you're nothing without your teammates.
Which is true.
Half of that describes bronzexuals. Matter of fact, there was a picture, I believe I sent it to you. I don't remember if I did, that had Kobe Bryant with a ring, and it said Kobe minus Shaq, and then had another one with you know who minus Dwayne Wade, and then it had Michael Jordan, and the caption said Michael Jordan without Scottie Pippen. Well, hell, I hope you keep showing that picture because it's the truth. You don't cuss. I had a word, but I'm going to be somewhat nice.
You feeble-minded mental midgets.
Thank you. I needed that. Thank you. You feeble-minded, stupid mental idiots.
I love the idiots.
That's a best. My wife, okay. That's the best I can come up with without saying every other George Carlin word I want to use. But I promised myself I wouldn't use it. Look, talent is great when you're LeBron James. He's the most gifted basketball athlete, the most gifted athlete I've seen in a long time. No argument. Yep. It's his basketball skills I have called into question for 20 years. 20 of them. Because I didn't see any skills when he was in high school. All I saw was a right-handed hammer dunk. I saw a jump shot that went 2 feet wide and still goes 2 feet wide today.
That still goes 2 feet wide.
Not long, wide.
Not year 19 as a pro, it goes wide, 2 feet, and ain't changed.
My friend Victor said it best. It's a chicken wing type jumper. And that SOB hasn't changed in 20 years. And he's supposed to be the great one? Forgive this one. My ass. That's what I'm saying. Forgive this one.
Oh my. Okay.
Because, and you've dealt with, this is the best way I can put it. Okay. You've dealt with the bronzexual world.
Yes, I have.
You continue to deal with the bronzexual world just as I do.
Unfortunately, I still do, yes.
What is wrong with these mental-minded, back-asswards idiots? What is wrong with these people? Matter of fact, someone's in here early, and I'm going to get him on right now, okay? Because he was scheduled for 9:20. I'm getting Deets in here right now. What up, Deets?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
What's up,
bro? So you know the subject matter right now. Okay? Why do people still believe in a person that has not changed this game in 20 years? Huh?
Because they have the bronzexuals haven't changed in 20 years. And you were kind of right. You have to go back to 2001 when LeBron was thrown down our throat, because that's when the high school, that's when the Sports Illustrated had him as the king. Right. When he had the Irish jersey on.
Right.
That's when we first heard of this.
Yeah.
That's when we first heard of St. Vincent, St. Mary, and I cover high school basketball. Covered it in Chicago and Northwest Indiana, and I'm going, where? Who the hell is St. Vincent, St. Mary?
Well, see, you have to understand, in the intro, I say inane comparisons. They weren't comparing him to Jordan in 2001 and 2002 yet. Now, he was being shoved down our throats by then, yes, but he was not being compared to Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. It wasn't until he set foot in the league. That's why I say 2003.
That's fair.
Because it immediately came.
But the bronzexuals, it's what Deet said. The bronzexuals have not changed.
But I totally agree with actually both your assessments. He's been shoved down our throats in 2002, and we first knew about him 2001 when he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
I looked at said cover, and y'all are going to love what I'm going to say next. the Bronsexuals won't, but y'all are going to love what I'm saying next. I looked at said cover, and my next question was, forgive me, who the fuck is this? I didn't want. Who am I kidding? Yes, I did. You know me. Dietz knows me. I'm going there. I looked at said cover and I went, who the fuck is this? I really didn't want to cuss today, but after what I got shoved down my throat last night with that comparison with Kobe and MJ, and after that horrid overtime performance, which is LeBron James's fault in the first place, because he passed when he got 2 feet from the bucket.
Well,
at the end of regulation, he was 5 feet from the bucket with a smaller player on him. Go up and tear the rim down.
I think it was because Bronsexuals wanted your throat to feel like theirs.
And I need to get y'all's opinion on that play, because you know what the Bronsexuals will say, and they said it his entire career. Yeah, but LeBron made the right basketball play. The right basketball play is scored a basket.
Okay, that close. I wait a minute. Wait. Forgive me, fans, in advance. The right basketball play? Bullshit. If you're 5 feet away from the basket, what did I just say? Go up and tear the rim down.
Especially if you're 6'9", 260.
But it's what people have been saying about LeBron from day one was LeBron. You said it the best. LeBron is. I've said this. He is the most gifted athlete I've seen in. He's up there with James Brown to me, as far as athletic build.
No question.
As far as his athleticism,
it's
off the charts.
No question.
However, if you're that athletic, why aren't you taking over the game late? Why are you passing to a guy in the corner? Why are you?
I'll answer that question.
We have said this all the time, and every time I point this out to somebody, every time I point this out on Facebook, I'll get 5 or 6 of it was the right basketball play. And I'm like, no, the right basketball play is score.
The right basketball play is put the ball in the bucket.
If you're that close,
the right basketball play is put the ball in the basket or get to the free throw line with 4.2 seconds left. Because that's when he was in the lane and 5 feet from the basket. Your arms are longer than your defender. Why didn't you just go up?
I was gonna say, if you're that long in length, you're that short at the bucket, and your defender's smaller than you and shorter than you, there is no excuse to go up. None. There's no excuse. You have to go up. That I thought it's basketball 101. If you have a height advantage over your defender, or you have a strength advantage over your defender, and the lane's yours. Now, the only thing you have to decipher is if it's a big man that's coming to thwart you. And since there wasn't, why
the Rockets had all short people in the lane.
Right.
Listen to me carefully, folks. The Rockets had all short people in the lane, and yet here's this 6'9", 260-pound bull in a china shop that had nothing but china around him, and he passes the ball.
And to let you all know, Bronsexuals, how consistent we are with our criticism, and I mean all three of us, this is the exact same criticism I have of one Ben Simmons, Game 7, 2001, Eastern Conference semifinals against the Hawks.
Bang.
Where he had a mouse in the house scenario, got past him, spun to the hole, and he decided to dish off when he saw a 6'1" person challenging his shot, and it was Trae Young.
Well, here's the challenge for everybody out there, and because the NBA media has scrubbed this from it. If you didn't see it, you won't see it ever again. They've gotten rid of all the pictures. Remember Mavericks versus Heat when JJ Barea was posted up by LeBron, and he dribbled it off his foot.
Yep.
Because he couldn't back in.
I remember that well.
JJ Barea was 5'6".
Yeah, he's a thimble
against 6'9".
And
against 6'9".
If you Google for that image, it is gone. It doesn't exist anymore.
Yep. And it won't come back either. It will not come back.
But you can't hide it from all of us that saw it, because we will remember and bring it up all the time.
I was on a road trip when I saw that happen. I was on a road trip when I saw that happen, and we all laughed. We toasted because we had pizza and beer, a broadcast road trip. We toasted and laughed. Okay? This is why these bronze sexuals, and I've said it, Dietza said it, are, well, in essence, they have a one-track mind. And that one-track mind is LeBron can do no wrong, which we all know is bullshit. Yeah. Which we all know, the true LeBron James fans have told me that it's wrong. And it just seems like they simply don't care. They just don't.
It is as if to them LeBron James has been shot with a vaccine, and that he is immune to criticism. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. I don't.
Nor have I. And that magazine cover in 2001. Yeah. Deets, why'd you have to put that memory in my head? I know it's a part of. I know it's a part of the culture, and I know it's a part of the LeBron culture.
The chosen one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. The chosen one. We didn't see this from MJ till he got in the league. Hell, we didn't see this from Magic Johnson until he announced he was leaving Michigan State University. And then Magic Johnson in 1980 went out and proved it.
Yeah.
Dietz, I got a question for you and you alone.
Okay.
I want you to test my theory.
Oh boy.
What has LeBron proven in 20 years?
He's proven that if you market yourself the right way and you hide all of your faults, that eventually, if you keep saying the same things over and over again, eventually people will believe them.
Okay.
Because that's what LeBron is.
Buy that.
LeBron has been the same exact player from day one until right now. He hasn't changed.
With a chicken wing ass jumper. With a chicken wing ass jumper that has not improved, that has not changed, that has not been good. And that's the best I can come up with.
But that's what he proves. He proves that if you just keep saying the same things over and over and over again, eventually what happens is the people who grew up hearing it are going to go, okay, well, that we've heard this for 20 years, so it must be true. And meanwhile, the exact opposite is the truth.
Mm-hmm. I'll say this. He was handed the league, and Cole has heard me say this. And Dietz, I know you've heard me say it. I've said it on and off the air. He was handed the league on a platinum platter, and Nike decided to jump in on the fun and hand him $90 million without setting foot to floor. Without setting foot to floor.
And the other thing that really gets you about LeBron and it's the culture. It's the entire culture around him.
Mm-hmm.
When Jordan came in the league, Bird did not like it, and Bird set out to. I'm not going to let Jordan take over the league.
Oh, right.
Isaiah, Chuck Daly, Bill Laimbeer, they said we're going to beat the ever-loving you-know-what out of Michael for the entire 7-game series we play. Every time he hits the hole, he's hitting the deck. So they didn't acquiesce to him. Then Magic did not acquiesce to Jordan.
Yeah,
None of the
Michael
players acquiesced to him. LeBron,
no.
Everybody has pretty much said, well, LeBron's the next thing. Let's get out of his way. Who's the guy that's challenged LeBron and said, I'm going to step up and challenge him? There's not really one person.
Here's a quick anecdote about Bird and Jordan. So I think they were in Boston and the Celtics were practicing, and the U.S. Olympic team at the time was practicing in the Garden the same way. Mm-hmm. So the ball caroms from the U.S. Olympic team side to the Celtics side. So Jordan walks over to Bird. Bird picks up the ball. But Jordan asks for the ball, and Bird chunks it to the other side. Yep. And when Bird was asked why he did that, he was like, I want to get every single advantage I possibly can over him to let him know that it's not going to be a cakewalk when he gets in the league and when he progresses in the league.
Right.
I can't fault him for that at all.
Nope.
And that served to prove to fashion a champion because of that mentality of the ones that came before Jordan.
And it wasn't hatred. It was competitive.
It was a competitive thing.
Balance.
Yeah, it was a
competitive. It was competitive balance, like you said, Dietz. And then MJ, April 20th, 1986, dropped 63 in the Garden, and then Larry Bird paid Jordan a high compliment by saying, quote, I thought it was God disguised as Michael Jordan, close quote. Best thing about it, Celtics team won in 2 overtimes. Mm-hmm.
To your point about it not being hatred, but competitive balance.
Yep.
Dietz, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. It was nothing but competitive nature. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's all it was.
And I believe Bird and Magic and those types, they smelled it in him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Jordan wouldn't have expected less. And I think he's happy that he got that because he said, okay, I got a mark to reach.
LeBron didn't pay my dues.
But that doesn't exist now. That doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
And what made the tracks groove so well for LeBron was Jordan retired in May, or Jordan retired in April. LeBron plays his first NBA game that October. And so damn it. So the forefront figure of the league is now sailed out to the sunset. Here's the new thing. And people really weren't talking about Kobe like that. They tried not to talk about Shaq that way. And they tried not to talk about Duncan or any other athlete in NBA that way. It was him. From the first day he set foot on the NBA court, this is the best thing the NBA has to offer. And October 27, 2003, best thing the NBA has to offer. And here we are 19 years later, the same thing.
And I called bullshit then, and I'm calling it now. I called bullshit then, and I'm calling it now. Dietz, I'm gonna drop you down till our segment comes up here in a little while. But I had to get I had to get Brother Dietz in on the fun. I had to because
always.
Because
much love to you, bro.
As much as we talk about this, Dietz talks about it off the air. Now we're getting them. Now we're getting them on the air. Dietz, drop down for me. I got Michael Antonellis coming on. I'll have you back at 9:20. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you coming up right now.
Thank you, Dietz.
All right, I'll be back.
Yeah, and I had to get him on. I had to.
Yeah,
I had to get him on now.
I love the way he thinks. And he's right.
I had to get him. He's dead right.
He's right.
He's dead on right. I mean, why do people think this guy is the ultimate when he hasn't been for 20 years? 20 years.
And this is why I said, I had to search back and think if we were like this with Jordan. And I had to search back to see if my father was like, or your father, or your father and my father was like that with Wilt and Bill Russell. Mm-hmm. And if the generation between our fathers and us were that way with Dr. J and Kareem. And the answer to that question is no, they weren't.
The answer to that question is hell no.
Yeah, they weren't, and we weren't.
The answer to that question is hell no. Because my father said, looked me in the eye and said, in '85, Jordan must pay his dues. Just like Magic did, just like Abdul-Jabbar did, just like Larry Bird did. MJ needs to pay his dues. And he started paying them April 20th, 1986, with that 63-point performance in Boston Garden. Yeah. That warranted high praise from Larry Bird. And if you warrant high praise from Larry Bird in your second season, then and you still feel you have a lot more to prove, because MJ said it all the time. I still got a lot more to prove to these guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he said, I still got a lot more to prove to these guys.
And to think he had another 5 years before he won his first title after that game.
After that game.
And that's the I've gotten people laughing at me. And I'm talking about young and old when I say what makes Jordan magical.
Why do you have people laughing at you? I mean, all you do is spit facts. That's all we do.
Yeah.
And they laugh at you. Why? I have to hear this.
Okay, so, I said, it's, because people say, well, explain to me why Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time and don't use rings as an argument, as an answer. I'm like, I can go so many different ways.
That's easy.
Well, I mean, scoring champion and defensive player of the year 1 year, 33, 8 and 8 another year, 37 points the year before he won his first MVP, and that's before he won his first championship.
3 steals titles.
Yeah, and not only
10-time All-NBA first team. And if I'm correct, LeBron has never made first team All Defense.
I don't think so.
I don't think he's ever made first team All Defense.
If he did, he's done it once, but I can't remember if he's done it.
Yeah,
but
MJ's done it 10 times.
But I said I can go through a litany of things, not even bring up 1991 and onward, because of the journey it took between the time he set foot on an NBA court in October 1984 to when he got his first championship in June of '91. It was that journey he took to the title. Yeah. Fools laughed at me because it's like, oh, so you talk about the journey? I'm like, yeah, because Jordan got his butt handed to him against the Celtics twice and the Pistons 3 times, and he didn't
got swept by the Boston Celtics twice. Got swept by a shorthanded Boston Celtics team in 1987.
Now the Lavs turned to scowls and anger and hisses.
Of course, because you spat facts at him.
Yeah. When I go at this point, all of those defeats, 2 sweeps to the Celtics, 3 bounce outs by the Pistons, 2 of them in the East Conference Finals. Jordan did not decide to switch and go to another team.
Nope. He took his lumps and said, "We're going to get better." I got Michael Antonellis coming in 180 seconds, so I better close this out.
In a world where partial greatness is celebrated and total greatness is shunned, there stands to be a figure on the lips of those who love him. In a world where logic and sense flies completely out the window, while purple and yellow glasses are donned, rises a figure who encourages ridiculous, undying loyalty.
He changed lives.
Good Lord, I'm about to throw up. This has been yet another installment of The Bronzexual Confessions.
I'll say it again. Take your 100 millionth follower and shove it up your ass. You haven't been a good player. You haven't been a good player since you entered the league. You weren't a good player when you had that farce of a Sports Illustrated cover, and you're not a good player now. And it's been 20 blankety blank doggone blank years. 20 years, and you still haven't improved. 20 years, and you've shown nothing. Now, I know people are going to get mad at me for saying that. Ask me if I care. Which you don't.
I was say, do you care, Snowman?
Hell no, I don't. I care about spitting the truth. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Drop a like. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you to those of you watching us on BS3 TV, listening via iHeartRadio, Real Wise Radio, the On Tap Podcast Network, and Arena Sports Net. You can catch the podcast on Odyssey. Michael Antonellis in about 60 seconds. But while all this ballyhoo for a player who has not improved in 20 years, oh no, McCain, I love you for this. I'm gonna have Cool McCain on tomorrow. Bronze sexuals have a new cousin, Wentz sexuals. Damn right about that. Damn right about that. He wasn't it, so Indianapolis shipped him out.
Are you talking about the king of them in Dan Orlovsky? I'm sorry, Cool. I'm sorry, Brian.
We'll hit that and all the football news tomorrow on the Football Friday edition of Snowman in the Morning. All the moves, including Wentz sexuals. We're gonna have to team up and come up with something to come up with an intro, because now that he's with the Commanders or with the Commies, oh God, I can't believe I said that.
Commander Carson. I
feel like I'm in a cartoon. I feel like I'm in a Commander Carson. That's like Captain Jackson from what the hell is that show? I can't think of it. That's like Captain Jackson from In Living Color.
Oh Lord.
Now, via the Michael Scott Insurance Hotline, here's a guy that shares his love for baseball like we do. Michael Antonellis. What up, Mike?
Hey, great to finally meet you.
Great to finally meet you.
Yeah.
See, you've teased me being a baseball announcer for as long as we've been friends.
Oh, okay.
And you said, and Mike said, you know what? I want to be on your show. This wasn't a request. This wasn't a question. This was a command. And I'm kidding when I say that. So how are you, man? Good to have you on.
Oh, it's great to be here. I've been following you a lot, get to know you guys on social media, but it's nice to actually talk in person. So I enjoy your content, and
thank you.
Hopefully we have baseball soon. We'll have minor league baseball just for everyone watching. Yeah.
So this is year number 26 for you doing minor league ball?
Yeah. I don't look it, huh?
See, how come I look old and you do? Wait, how come I look old and you don't?
You don't look old. Oh.
I'm bald. How'd you get started, man? How'd you get started?
Yeah, I'll give you the quick story of it. I grew up in Massachusetts. That's where I'm living now. I actually moved away. I lived in Mass for 23 years, moved away for 23, and now I'm back. But the way I got into it was there was a station in Milford, Massachusetts that carried Legion baseball. And not many radio stations carry high school or Legion. And I just asked to work there, basically, interned. And they let me do some games. They had a full-time guy. I did 2 innings of play-by-play. From the 2 years of that, I made tapes. Got an internship in 1997 for a team in Virginia and stayed in it. And I was lucky, after that first year in my internship, the guy that I worked for left. I got his job, and then I just kept moving around. And then in 2005, I landed my best gig in Portland, Maine. I worked for the Red Sox AA affiliate for 15 years. And then I got promoted to the AAA team during the pandemic. We lost the season. I wasn't hired full time, but I'm doing it part time now. And last year, the Red Sox moved to a $160 million ballpark in Worcester, Mass, which is now the AAA affiliate, and that was it was incredible. So, many years. I've done 3,200 games professionally.
Damn.
Yeah. Wow.
Done some, And I saw you did stuff for ESPN Plus. That's fantastic.
Yeah. UNCG gave me the call, and working on something where I can cover women's basketball next season. I'm excited. I did some baseball. They may have some more baseball for me. I'm in the process of getting myself back in the booth, and I love it. Anybody who has called a baseball game, and my wife told me, she said, I can't go to a ball game with you because I know I'll be bored. And I'm like, honey, you haven't heard me call a baseball game yet. The next day she heard me. She says, how do you make baseball so exciting? I said, I've been doing this for 20 years.
You gotta have a love for the sport.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
You gotta have a love of the sport. And baseball was the first sport I ever loved watching, playing, and announcing. Tell me some voices that like gave you the bug, Mike.
Yeah. Easy. Very, very lucky to grow up in the era that we grew up in with Vin Scully. And I mean, the old time guys to me were fantastic. But in Boston, we were very fortunate to have some legendary voices. Ken Coleman was the Red Sox voice growing up. He's a Hall of Famer. Johnny Most.
Gotta have Johnny Most.
Longtime Celtics voice.
Yeah, I mean,
gotta have Johnny Most.
Yep. So those guys, it's funny. I think back to how it really happened. Was my grandparents on my mom's side, they had cable before we did. And when we would go there, they lived near Boston. When you're 12, 11, you don't like to be social. I didn't like to miss any baseball games. Right. And my grandmother was cool enough to let me go bolt into their den, and I would watch. I can remember WGN. So watch Cubs games, Yankee games, Mets games, Braves, and those guys to me were all larger than life characters, and I fell for that. So that's kind of and then going to Fenway, of course.
Of course,
yeah.
For you, it's Fenway. For me, it was old and new Comiskey Park.
Yeah,
I'm a South Sider, so I had a chance to go to the Division Series in 2005 and also Game 2 of the World Series because that was a busy day for me. Because October 23rd, 2005, got to see the Bears beat Baltimore on the turf that was horrible, and then zip over to the South Side and see Scott Podsednik's walk off.
Wow.
And I didn't have a voice when I came in the house. My dad had a ear-to-ear grin. And he said, so you saw what happened, right? I said, yep. And we both laughed and hugged that entire time. That series, I believe that series was for him because 2 years later, I lost him to prostate cancer. Good. But he was one of the first ones that encouraged me. Chase your dream, man.
Yeah.
He encouraged me. And I hear his voice today. Telling me the same thing, and I hear it through my wife. She tells me the same thing. How much fun do you have when on a game day, when you go to the ballpark, knowing this is what I want to do?
It's I think the older you get, you appreciate even more because I'm a lot more comfortable in what I do. And it takes a while to feel like you're actually good at what you're doing.
Yeah.
The nuts and bolts. When you're first broadcasting, you really have no idea what you're doing, like how to open the game. So now, for me, I feel very comfortable and I see the game differently. And it's the people I work with. I'm lucky in Worcester. There's 4 of us that do games because we do TV every night.
Yes.
On the Red Sox secondary Nesson channel. But it's I mean, the ballpark now that I work in, the guys that I work with are friends. And it's always a new slate. I always say it's like an artist, every day is a blank canvas and it's not always just painting what happens. It's just, I just love telling stories or having fun and it's fantastic. I mean, I've been very lucky. I mean, I've done games at Fenway. I've done some stuff for the Red Sox. I've been, I'm not someone that will have to look back and say, wow, I was fortunate. Like I know it now. While I'm doing it, I've been, it's a great life. I've been blessed to have a lot of things happen. But again, I will say the best thing about it is the people you meet because the job, radio's radio anywhere, but the people that I've been able to link up with has been incredible.
Well said.
Yeah.
Michael Antonella is joining us here via the Michael Scott Insurance video hotline, talking all things baseball broadcast. whom do you, when it comes to doing a broadcast, are there any phrases that you steal to use in your own games? Because I've used quite a few.
Yeah, I think sometimes it just happens. I know organically there are things that I just have said that I just say forever. Like when a game is over, I always say this game's history. I don't know where that comes from.
Yes.
Sometimes I like to be corny with play on words. Like last year, we had a guy hit one on the berm, and I said "berm, baby, berm." You know, and, I know, I had to.
Baseball Inferno. Yeah, I'm sorry.
The guy I worked with is younger, so I don't think he knew what the song was. But
I borrowed one. I borrowed a couple. Hogan Windish for UNCG hit a home run on Saturday, and I said the Hulkster strikes, and I said Hulk smash. When he hit, I said Hulk. I used Hulk smash, and a couple of my friends immediately texted me and said, "You did not just go there with the Hulk smash." Yes, I did, because he killed that ball to left field.
Yeah, I tell younger people, I know that if there's guys you really look up to in the big leagues, I wouldn't try to be that guy. You really have to be yourself. Those guys. Everyone borrows something, but I think eventually you organically will come up with stuff. Like there's things I say that I don't know where it comes from. Just have
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. The first game I did for Lewisburg last year, guy hits a home run to tie the game, and immediately Robert Ford comes into my mind, and I said, going back, looking up, "See you later," and I screamed it at the top of my lungs, and someone recognized that was an Astros fan, and he comments, "Okay, Robert Ford, I hear you." I borrowed him. I borrowed Robert Ford, and I've had Robert Ford on the show. Great friend of mine.
We're great. We're good friends too. I know Rob.
Yep. Yeah. I've heard. I borrowed Dave Sims, TV voice of the Seattle Mariners. I borrowed John Sterling when I covered Roosevelt University baseball in 2012 in Chicago. We had a walk-off winner, and out my mouth comes, "Lakers win! Lakers win!"
Oh no!
All I have to say is it stuck.
Yeah, John's awesome. Yeah,
it stuck. Because the next game that I had with Roosevelt, I said it again, and I heard some of the people in the ballpark saying it with me.
That's great.
Oh, this has been so delightful. Michael Antonella is joining us here via the Michael Scott Insurance Hotline. Man, I look forward to hearing you call games this year, man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully we can try to link up even more down the road, guys.
Absolutely.
Pleasure to meet you,
brother.
Mike.
You too.
Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Yep.
Man, I borrowed so many phrases. Over my years in doing baseball. Mention John Sterling. I borrowed Robert Ford. I borrowed Howie Rose from the Mets. Put it in the book. I used that last weekend. I have used "That's a Winner." Of course, that's a late great Jack Buck. When I did a Brother Rice game in Chicago, they were playing St. Rita, one of their hated rivals in the Catholic League, but these kids get along great. Brother Rice wasn't given a chance, and they blew him out. And I borrowed from Jack Buck again when I said, "And we'll see you tomorrow night," because they were playing for the sectional championship. I borrowed that. That's a winner from John Rooney. That's a Laker winner. I've used that. John Rooney used to say that's a White Sox winner when he was with the White Sox for 18 years. I've used that. I've used I'm blanking on it. Jerry Howarth, longtime voice of the Toronto Blue Jays. When he hits a home run, he would go, "There she goes." I used that last year when I covered Lewisburg. But Mike said something that's so true. You want to come up with stuff organically, but sometimes the moment describes itself and you just use the words that you're familiar with.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what makes play-by-play announcers so good at what they do. And I say this with present company included. You all have, I mean, you all are artists in your own way. And the thing is, you use words as your paint, because you're looking at, especially with baseball, you're looking at this field that literally is a canvas. And you know, and your goal, your objective is to make us as listeners get a feel for what either we're hearing or we're seeing and hearing in your own way. And that's how you connect with the people who call your games, whether it is baseball or basketball or football or hockey. You connect with them because you get a chance to see the game through the lens of someone else that you respect and you love. And when someone knows how to frame those words and paint that canvas with the language that you speak, it makes the relationship all that much sweeter.
It does, and it makes it so much fun to do. This past weekend, as I said, I had UNCG baseball, first 2 games against Towson. I even worked in a little John Miller from the Giants.
That man does not get the respect he deserves.
Well, he is now, and imitation is the best form of imitation is the best form of flattery. I had a call that went like this: swinging a ground ball to short, Budzik picks it up, flips the second one, return to first, 2, a double play. And I'm going, where'd I pull that one out from? I'm going, you sit there and like, where the hell's that from? I didn't think of that, but John Miller entered my head. Ivan Dawkins saying snow and cold. Better believe it, buddy.
What's up, Ivan? What's up, bro?
Best radio, best sports tandem you will ever see. And I truly believe that. And like I said, Cole's the best decision I ever made. Sig Diggy joining us. Good morning, gentlemen. What about the color commentators? Don't they have iconic catchphrases and moments as well? Yes, they do.
They do.
They sure do. FP Santangelo for the Washington Nationals after Kurt Suzuki hit a walk-off home run after this was 2019, and I listened to that game on the drive to North Carolina. When Kurt Suzuki hit a walk-off, Bob Carpenter, television voice of the Nationals, Suzuki walks off, and I will never forget what FP Santangelo said. He said, and now everybody dances. So hell yeah. I mean, the first color commentator I can tell you I fell in love with was Johnny Kerr, who sat alongside Jim Durham for many years. Then there was Dick Butkus, who sat beside Wayne Larrabee. Chuck Swirsky was in the radio booth as well when the Bears games were on WGN. There's that station again, WGN. I grew up with WGN. I can't lie. I grew up with WGN. Here's a fun fact for you. Bulls games were on WGN up until 1986 when they moved them to WFLD for 3 seasons, and then they moved them back to WGN.
Yes, they were.
They moved them back. They moved them back to WGN after they ended the simulcast era in 1989. And this is when the Bulls were taken off. So they had to make some decisions. And that part I understand. Yeah, but they still could have kept the simulcast through the first championship run. And I remember that because John Rooney was the radio voice of the Bulls whenever they were on WGN. And Jim and Johnny were doing the WGN call. How do I remember this? I used to tape every single game I could listen to. Even when I was in school in Missouri in 1990, every game that I could listen to, I would tape it. I'd put a cassette tape in the stereo and I'd hit record. I came home for Christmas, borrowed my mom's recorder, and recorded the Christmas Day game against the Detroit Pistons.
Well, I mean, now my personal first color commentator that I remember was, of course, it was Tom Foley, the guy that sat opposite Gene Peterson calling Rockets games.
Yes.
he basically was the guy who he would set the emotional table, and he almost would give Gene the permission to act a fool, especially if the Rockets were on the winning end. Sometimes when the Rockets are on the losing end too, but when the Rockets are on the winning end, and you know this with the Kerr Durham tandem with Chicago.
Yes, I do.
It's as if the color guy gives the play-by-play man the permission to just emotionally release. And because of that energy, it makes the tandem work even better.
It's true.
And of course, look, my favorite color commentator of any sport, John Madden.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Every other one is number two.
Listen, you can't tell me John Madden wasn't given permission by Pat Summerall to act a complete fool every time they were together. It seemed like the later on in their relationship, when they were working together, especially when they changed over to Fox. When they changed over to Fox, Pat looked at John looked at Pat, and Pat said, "Just do your thing.
Just do you.
Just do you." And John will give him the same thing. You do. You do. And of course, the two of them are looking down right now, saying, "You honor us." Hey, look. Vince Scully and Hank Stram called the catch.
They were a good tandem.
Hank Stram and Vince Scully called the catch on CBS. That was Vince Scully's final game for CBS till he went to baseball, NBC, and of course, longtime voice of the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Right.
Hank Stram opened his mouth. If y'all listen to that call from CBS, Hank Stram, being forever a coach.
Yeah, he called the play, I think.
Opened his mouth and said, "Might see a pick play on the right side, possibly." Where was that pass thrown?
On
the right side.
I thought he called the play. I couldn't remember the call.
Might see it, and the way it was set up was perfect because the play was originally designed to go to Freddie Solomon.
Right.
The play was originally designed to go to Freddie Solomon, and Hank Stram. I think Montana said the play was designed to go to Freddie, but he looked at Dwight and said, "Be ready, because I may have to come to you."
Mm-hmm.
I ask this all the time. How did they know that shit? Because this is before I really dove into football. That day I got into football, but now being a play-by-play announcer of 24 years, I dove into the plays, and I go back and look at plays like that, and I'm going, how did he know that?
That is the sign of a bright, strong football mind. And Hank Stram, he's one of the architects of how people call games today. And I don't mean
he is.
I don't mean on TV. I mean on the field. Because he was the one that would be the elaborate play caller and offense coordinator, and he sort of led, along with Tom Landry, the charge of having a player run into the huddle and call the play, relay the play to the quarterback.
Yeah. Hank Stram and Tom Landry perfected that.
They perfected,
and then Bill Walsh took it to another level.
I should say I'd say those two pioneered it, and Bill Walsh, I believe, perfected it.
Bill Walsh took it to another level, telling everybody to play.
Yeah.
Okay. Telling everybody the important people to play on the sideline, and either Solomon or Clark, or later on Taylor and Rice and all those. Oh, here you go, Diggy. I love it. I love it. Well, I grew up watching professional wrestling, and my favorite commentary pairs were Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura and good old JR and Jerry the King Lawler. You know what? Can't mess with that.
When it comes to wrestling color commentators,
Gordon Soley,
they were great. And they basically took what the normal color guy would do and just went overboard with it. Of course, my favorite is Bobby Heenan. But
God rest Bobby the Brain.
Yeah, that's my favorite color guy of all time in wrestling.
And I know you got to take off, but I'll leave you with this one here in the final 60 seconds. Bobby Heenan relayed a story that he and Gorilla Monsoon had so much fun working together.
Yes, they loved each other.
They may have acted like they hated each other on television, but it was such a good time. You could tell it was a good time.
And
you can tell it was a good time.
And they did things like I could picture if the two of us had that same gig, we would do the same thing. Yeah, they actually on air tried to make each other crack up. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah.
When you and I share the booth for the first time, and it's a matter of when, it's not a matter of if, it's going to be a matter of when. Mm-hmm. When we share the booth for the first time, I know you're going to try your damnedest to get me out of character, and I'm just going to return the favor.
And just do a
slip. You know what I mean? We do it here. We do it here. 120 minutes a day. All right, you got to take off. I got Chris Pirtle coming up next. I will talk to you tomorrow, brother, when we have a full football show for Friday.
Look forward to it, bro.
All right, I love you, man. Thank you.
Love you too, man. Peace.
Cole Johnson, and if you haven't had a chance to check out On the Daily with Cole Johnson, I suggest that you do, because it's a lot of fun. I'm waiting on Chris Pirtle to hop on. Matter of fact, I'll send him a message right now. Man, it's so much fun. It's fun, I say, doing this. It's fun doing this. It's fun doing play-by-play. And speaking of doing this, I now have Chris Pirtle on the Michael Scott Insurance Video Hotline. Good morning, Pirtle.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Good to see you.
Good to see you. The Lakers lost again, and I'm laughing my ass off because of it.
The Lakers blow an overtime loss last night in Houston. Houston gets the first 10 points in overtime, so the game was over. But luckily for the Lakers, I mean, they get some luck a lot of times, Brian. The Pelicans have a golden opportunity to move a spot up and catch the Lakers, and they blow a home game last night to the worst team in the league, the Orlando Magic.
Magic.
The Lakers dodge a bullet again last night in terms of going down in the standings.
They don't have many more bullets to dodge if they keep losing the way that they lost last night. They get to, okay, let's have fun here. LeBron gets a free ticket into the lane 5 feet from the bucket, and he passes it off.
Brian, how does this not remind people of Ben Simmons? I mean, nobody wants to put nobody wants to put the great LeBron James in that category. But if you watch the video, how can you not?
I mean, mouse in the house for Ben Simmons. Trae Young is guarding him, and he passes the ball instead of wheeling around and dunking. Really? I mean, all LeBron had to do was take off from inside the circle and ram it down with two hands. Ball game over. You dodge another bullet, and he passed the ball out.
Yeah, to Carmelo Anthony.
Of all people.
If he was passing it to if he was passing it to Devin Booker, maybe I feel better about that. But he was passing it to Carmelo Anthony, and we're talking about arguably the greatest attacker of the basket in terms of driving to the hoop in the history of the NBA. And to see what we saw last night, coming off of a game in San Antonio where he didn't play due to some mysterious knee injury, and then all of a sudden the knee's back to feeling better. A completely bizarre situation in Los Angeles, Brian.
And it's going to get even worse. Speaking of a bizarre situation, there's a game tonight between the Nets and 76ers, and we're not going to see Ben Simmons. My question to you, are we going to see Ben Simmons at all? Are we going to see Ben Simmons at all this year? And my answer is no.
I think we're going to see, I think what they're doing, Brian, is they'll probably play him about the last 5 regular season games, which we're getting close to that happening. I mean, they didn't just trade James Harden to get somebody that they're not going to have available for the playoffs. And strangely enough, Brian, this Brooklyn team has the lowest odds out of any team in the Eastern Conference to win the NBA title. So I continually wonder what Vegas is thinking by making these guys the favorites. They must think that Ben Simmons is going to be back for the playoff stretch. But yeah, it's very bizarre. But like I said, they traded James Harden, and I don't think they just traded him to have somebody that's not going to be available when it comes playoff time.
Yeah, but the problem is with Ben Simmons being with the Nets, is he going to show up? Because the way it looks right now, we don't know what the hell's going on with Kyrie Irving. And, state of New York says you're still not allowed to play in games in New York. Should the Nets get to the playoffs, I'm looking at their standings, it's all going to fall on the shoulders of Kevin Durant once again to get them there.
Yeah, hard to disagree with that. And it's a strange situation with Irving. And in some ways, you probably don't want Irving playing all the games, as injury prone as he is. I know that sounds weird. And if you've got the home court advantage in Brooklyn, maybe the best time to have Kyrie Irving is when you do have to play those road games in the playoffs. So it's a totally strange situation in Brooklyn. I've never taken this team seriously ever since they brought these guys together. And how can you really take a team that has Kyrie Irving on it seriously? When was he a good, productive member of a playoff team? Well, you have to go back all the way to 2016 to find that.
Yeah, when he hit the shot that clinched the championship. And I've said on your show, I don't trust the Nets. I don't trust Kyrie Irving. I didn't trust James Harden. We'll get to James Harden in just a moment. It's all going to fall on the shoulders of Kevin Durant. How sad that is that it's going to fall on the shoulders of Kevin Durant to get them to the playoffs or the play-in round, considering their standing right now. Speaking of James Harden, he gets traded to Philadelphia. For what? For what? I had a theory on this. I said a theory on this show. All the effort that Joel Embiid has made to be an MVP candidate and to get his team to the World Championship Series is going to disappear once James Harden has stepped on the floor. They may be 5-0, but who's getting all the attention? James Harden.
James Harden agreed. And somehow Embiid, as it looks today, is still the front runner to win the MVP. Mm-hmm. So that's an interesting thought, Brian. There's now 2 years in a row where a foreign player has won the MVP. And if Embiid wins it this year, that'll be 3 years in a row. We had never seen any foreign players win the NBA MVP except for Dirk Nowitzki, and that was about 20 years ago. So we're potentially on the verge of seeing it happen 3 consecutive times. But I want to throw a name out here as I segue into MVP talk, and that is Jason Tatum, Brian.
Yes.
44 points last night in Charlotte, followed up a 54-point performance the other day against the Brooklyn Nets. Let's keep an eye on Jason Tatum as we come down the stretch. He's as hot as anyone, and so are the Celtics.
So why don't people think Jason Tatum could be an MVP candidate? Because the slander on social media is real. I saw a post, and I believe you saw it too, that Jason Tatum's not scoring 54 on Ben Simmons if Ben Simmons is guarding him. I jumped all over that, and I said, yes, he is. He's going to score 60 on him. I don't trust Ben Simmons as a defender, and I never will.
Yeah, I tell you, it's been a strange year, especially for Ben Simmons, and he's filed a grievance, from what I understand, against the Philadelphia 76ers. But he's got to get out there on the court, Brian. You can't just flip a switch and automatically have chemistry and cohesion with your teammates that you've never played with before.
Right.
So it's going to be a huge challenge. And the play-in tournament is real. They're going to play real teams in this play-in tournament. There's no guarantee that they'll even make the playoffs. And if they do, they'll catch the number 1 seeded Miami Heat, who is one of the best defensive teams in the league. So it's definitely an uphill battle for the Brooklyn Nets.
And the top 4 teams in the East right now, Miami, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and Chicago. The one that's shaky for me is Philadelphia. And the 2-word reason is James Harden.
Cannot disagree with that, Brian. I will never forgive the playoff performances of James Harden, specifically in 2017, when you're going up against the San Antonio Spurs. Kawhi Leonard has been ruled out for the series. Yep. You're up 3-2. and you come out and you don't even take a shot in the first half of a game, a potential closeout game, you end up going 2 of 11. I've never seen a disappearing act by an NBA MVP, a regular season MVP, because let's be crystal clear, James Harden will never be a finals MVP, and any team that has him on their roster in the playoffs better be looking for cover, because it's not a pretty sight. You know, him and Chris Paul that year, they played together. I guess they played 2 years together in Houston, but the year that they won 65 games, they got 1 game away from the finals. I think that's the closest that James Harden, with the exception of the 2012 year at Oklahoma City, will ever get to the NBA Finals.
And the closest Westbrook will ever get to the finals, closest James Harden has ever gotten to the finals, and they will never get that close again. It's going to be on the shoulders of Joel Embiid to carry Philadelphia to and through the playoffs. Should they? They're going to make the playoffs. Yes, they're going to be one of the top 4 seeds, but it's a shaky number 3 right now. Phoenix, Memphis, Golden State, and Utah are your top 4 in the West. And I love Phoenix, but everyone should be wary of Golden State because they are getting healthy at the right time. And if I'm Steve Kerr, I love the problem that I have in getting the right rotations ready. He's getting ready for the playoffs right now. Been there and done that.
They've got the right idea. And just a quick thought on Philadelphia, and then we'll move back on to Golden State, Brian. Phil, what happens just about every year in the playoffs, Brian? Boston takes out Philadelphia. It's like clockwork. Yes. I think it's happened 4 out of the last 5 years. Well, if Philly finishes in that number 4 spot, and Boston, who is arguably the hottest team in the Eastern Conference, possibly the hottest team in the NBA currently, they finish at 5. Guess who's going to play each other in the first round? So that's Boston, an interesting situation to monitor. Exactly. But I couldn't agree with you more about Golden State, Brian. Getting Draymond back makes this team, to me, the favorites to win the Western Conference. We saw what they did with him when they had him in the regular season. There is no doubt in my mind that he is the MVP of that team. If you don't have Draymond Green in Golden State, then you don't have a championship team. And getting James Wiseman back also, in addition to the players they've been able to develop, like the Kumingas, the Jordan Pooles of the world, this could arguably be one of the best Golden State teams we've ever seen if they can get healthy. Now, let's keep in mind, Brian, this was a back injury to Draymond Green. Yes. And he's got to get in there and bang with some seriously big guys. When you look at Denver's roster, Jokic and Aaron Gordon, you look at Utah, you've got Rudy Gobert and Hassan Whiteside. That is some serious size. So Draymond has to be 100%. He can't enter the playoffs at 60 or 70%. And I think Steve Kerr knows that, and I think that's why he probably held him out a little longer than they normally would. But I couldn't agree with you more, Brian. Keep an eye on the Warriors. They go to Denver tonight, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go in there and get a victory tonight.
I wouldn't be surprised either. You know, shorthanded Warriors team is always the most dangerous kind of team in the West. Memphis is nothing to play with either. Ja Morant has been doing it for Memphis. My only question, who's going to step up with him? They're the number 2 seed right now, but they have a Warriors team that's a half a game out that's chasing them and Phoenix down. There's a lot of time left in the season for these 3 to flip positions.
Unbelievable, Brian. If you would have told me that the Memphis Grizzlies, with about 10 games to go in the regular season, would be sitting at number 2 in the Western Conference, I would have told you that is impossible. That's not going to happen. And then if you would ask me who are the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th best players on the Memphis Grizzlies, I'd probably have a hard time giving you a good answer. So it's incredible what they've accomplished this year. And to me, I don't know how Taylor Jenkins cannot be the front runner as Coach of the Year. Monty Williams currently is, when you look at the odds, and Monty's done a great job, and he's a hell of a coach. But I think we already knew Phoenix was a pretty good team, as evident by their finals run last year. Nobody saw this coming from the Memphis Grizzlies. And when you don't even know who the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th best players are, that's another feather in the cap of Taylor Jenkins. So that'll be an interesting race to monitor as we come down the stretch as to who's going to come away with the Coach of the Year award.
Chris Purtle on the video line talking NBA happenings. One more team to discuss that could flip a switch and surprise everybody, and that's my hometown Chicago Bulls.
your Chicago Bulls. Hey, Brian, I don't disagree with you one bit. This is a team featuring two guys that were talked about at different parts of the year as potential MVPs. Early in the season, Zach LaVine got a lot of run as an MVP candidate. Unfortunately for Zach, he got hurt, and so obviously that the talk simmered down about that. But guess what happened? DeMar DeRozan went on this huge stretch where he was scoring 30 points a night, just about every single night. So he started being talked about as an MVP candidate. How many teams in the NBA had two players on their team that were talked about as MVP candidates throughout the season? Yeah. Nobody except the Chicago Bulls. You add to that Vucevic, who is another part of the big three, what I call the big three in Chicago. Those guys are all three legitimate all-stars in this league. I think the key for them is getting a healthy Caruso and Lonzo Ball back for this playoff stretch. Right. And if they do, Brian, they're going to be as formidable as anybody in the East. We already know Billy Donovan is a legitimate coach, a former coach of the year in the NBA. So I couldn't agree with you more. Let's keep an eye on the Bulls. They could definitely make some noise.
No, I've touted the last couple of years that they've had the pieces, especially after Billy Donovan became their coach. It's just a matter of Donovan having the freedom, which he does now, and he did not have in Oklahoma City, to coach his team. Now, with the steal of free agency in DeMar DeRozan, who had back-to-back game winners, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, Indiana and Washington, DeRozan being an MVP candidate, they're getting Alex Caruso back because he's just been cleared to participate in practices, and Lonzo Ball being the best Lonzo Ball that we have seen since he's come into the league. Lonzo Ball is a huge key for the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing some really good ball before he got hurt, Brian. I got to give the kid credit, too. I guess I shouldn't call him a kid anymore. He's probably about 24 years old at this point. But let's give him credit. When he entered this league, he was shooting the free throwing at 47%. He's now up into the 70s. So got to give this guy a lot of credit for putting in the work, improving his shooting percentage, improving his free throw percentage. And to see him back in a Bulls uniform at playoff time will certainly be a welcome sight for Bulls fans and the entire Chicago Bulls nation.
The United Center is going to be louder even than when it was in 2011 when the Bulls made a quote-unquote unexpected run to the Eastern Conference Finals. My East Finals I called at the top of the year was Milwaukee and Chicago. Straight up I-94. I'm not backing off of that. Miami is a hell of a good team. So is Philadelphia. But if I got to pick two teams outside of maybe the Boston Celtics that could get to the East Finals and give us a hell of a matchup, it would be the Bucks and the Bulls.
I would love to see it, Brian. I used to live in Milwaukee. I spent 2 years in Milwaukee. You're obviously from Chicago, so we know the geography pretty well. It's only a 70-mile drive up I-94 from Chicago to Milwaukee. I think that would be a great conference finals. And we all know what happened with Grayson Allen and Alex Caruso. And so it would be certainly highly contested NBA finals with some chippiness. But it's amazing to me how people forget what the Milwaukee Bucks did last year. They won the NBA. Last time we saw them, they were winning the NBA championship in the finals. Giannis was scoring 50 points and arguably the greatest closeout performance ever. And those guys have only gotten better. Giannis is only 27. Middleton's in his 20s. Jrue Holiday's still a pretty young guy. There's no reason why the Milwaukee Bucks shouldn't be right back where they were last year.
I wouldn't be surprised. Everybody wants to sleep on Milwaukee because Miami is doing well. Philadelphia is doing well. Don't sleep on the Bucks and the Bulls as a possible Eastern Conference final, okay? Because when that happens, I'm going to have you on a whole lot more to break down that final, but we got to get there first. Chris Pirtle joining me on the hotline, the Michael Scott Insurance video hotline, presented by Michael Scott Insurance, protecting what matters most. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate the time. I'm going to have you back on a whole lot more. Thank you.
Always a pleasure, Brian.
Chris Steve's joining us on the hotline, talking all things NBA. But it was fun. What's absolutely fun is when teams you don't expect to be where they need to be are there. They're absolutely there. And now Chris Dietz is back to talk some more sports. Yo, Dietz, what's up, man?
What's going on, man?
I had so much fun with you this morning, Cole and I did. I want to thank you for that. Because I'm saving my football for Friday, because my only statements are Green Bay has invited back mediocrity for another 4 years. And what the hell is Russell Wilson doing in Denver? Those are my only two questions.
It's not even to me. I mean, everybody.
It's not a blockbuster. We talked about it yesterday. It's not a blockbuster deal.
Everybody acted like this Russell Wilson thing was all of a sudden happened.
Mm-hmm.
We knew this was going to happen when he signed that contract. You knew it was never going to end in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle was always going to move on.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't sign that contract and then rebuild your team.
Right.
You can't.
You really can't.
So anyone who was following the NFL knew that Russell Wilson at some point. Now, did we think it was going to be this year? No, but we knew he wasn't going to live out that contract.
There was no way he was going to live out that contract. There was just no way.
And this is what gets to me. And we talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, but it's why I love coming on your show and why I love talking to you, because I know you've been in the media a lot longer than I have.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a media thing. I sent you the article. The guy says literally in the title, blockbuster deal sends Wilson to Denver. And then in the first paragraph of the article, it says, well, Russell Wilson is traded, but we don't know the details.
Yeah.
How can it be a blockbuster deal if you don't know what the other team sent to get it? And
we didn't know the details for another hour.
And we
didn't know the details for another hour. Then when it came in, when the detail came in, what did I say to you? Blockbuster deal? My ass.
Yeah. I mean, even when we got the details, I mean, people have said to me, blockbuster deal. It's a blockbuster deal. It's a blockbuster deal because Russell Wilson's involved.
That's the only reason it's a blockbuster deal.
Let me be clear.
That's the only reason it's a blockbuster deal, because Russell Wilson.
A blockbuster deal to me. Let me tell you, a blockbuster deal to me is a deal that both teams make out like it works out for both teams.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one team gets the superstar and the other team gets a whole bunch of
draft picks,
a whole bunch of maybe superstars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I since yesterday when this news broke, I've been getting bombarded with comments of it's a blockbuster deal because Russell Wilson's involved, and nobody can answer to me, yeah, because I'm a Cowboys fan, so I like to tell people, yeah, the Herschel Walker trade was not a blockbuster trade.
It really wasn't,
because the Vikings got shafted.
Mm-hmm.
So
they got robbed.
To fully go through this, I haven't even looked. I mean, I know it's they sent a bunch of picks. I have to see where those picks are, because if what Denver gave up, they might have just set Seattle up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes it a blockbuster to me, is when both sides get something absolutely crazy, get something great. It's not just because one guy's involved.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Chris Dietz joining us via the Michael Scott Insurance video hotline. We are live on iHeartRadio, Real Wise Radio, the Untitled Podcast Network, Arena Sportsnet, and BS3 TV. You can pick up the podcast later today on Odyssey as well as iHeartRadio. Dietz joining us, telling us the true meaning of a blockbuster deal. And Seattle Denver was not a blockbuster deal because who the hell knows if Drew Lock is going to get it together? Who the hell knows that?
Who said anything about Drew Lock in the last 3 years? Guy's been on the field twice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
in 3 years.
I had questions about Drew Lock. I always thought, everybody says, because Drew Lock was drafted in, I think he was drafted in the second round.
Yeah.
I always said, when he was coming out, they said, Drew Lock could be a top 5 pick. And I said, no. I had him as a third round. I had him as a third rounder coming out of Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought he got drafted high. And then we haven't seen him. We haven't even seen him play in the NFL. Every time he plays 2 games and he gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Then we don't see him again. So I don't really know
what did you say? 2 times in 3 years?
Isn't
that what you said? 2 times in 3 years?
We've seen him play in Denver. He started the season, played 2 games, got injured, and then Teddy Bridgewater took over the team. I mean, this is what Drew Lock
did. He got pummeled behind that lack of an offensive line. He got pummeled.
What's funny is we talked last week about mock drafts and stuff.
Yep.
This is why I don't do mock drafts.
Same.
Because everybody had everything changed. Everything changed yesterday when Russell Wilson got traded, when Carson Wentz got traded, when Aaron Rodgers decided to stay. That changes everybody. All these people that are making predictions. Well, guess what? Washington's not drafting a quarterback now.
Nope. Because
Denver's not drafting a quarterback now.
Wentz. Nope.
So
Green Bay is going to start shopping Jordan Love. They're going to start shopping him.
This is why we start talking. This is why we don't talk about mock drafts. We talk about, all right, what do teams need and what do we think they can get at the point that they are? So
Chris Dietz at the Fifth Down Sports Show joining us. Fifth Down Sports Show is tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern. I have been asked so many times to do a mock draft in the last 10 years, and each time I said no. It's too crazy to predict. Then you have deals like this that happened 3 big deals in the last 48 hours. So that changes the needs for Green Bay, for Denver, and for Washington, because those are the 3 teams that everybody scouted saying, okay, we're going to need a quarterback because Aaron Rodgers is gone. We need a quarterback because Drew Lock isn't doing anything, nor is Teddy Bridgewater. And now they need a quarterback in Washington because Taylor Heinicke is not doing anything. Well, all that got fixed.
And people will say, and you're going to hear this all over the place. You're going to hear people say, well, Washington will take a quarterback anyway because they need somebody behind Carson Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. If I'm a Washington, and I don't even say their name anymore, but if I'm a Washington fan and my team takes a quarterback, you know what that tells you? That tells you, hey, guess what? We're giving up on this season.
We're giving up on the season, and you're giving up on Carson Wentz at the same time. Only 1 year in Indy, and he's traded to the Redskins. So now what do the Colts do at quarterback? That's a question that needs to be answered.
Yeah, the Colts, and I was actually just looking at this. Do you realize the Colts have had a different starting quarterback on day one every year for the last 8 years?
Mm-hmm.
Because when Andrew Luck just decided, I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
Andrew Luck walked away.
With the thing is, the Colts had it. They had Jacoby Brissett right there.
Mm-hmm.
And they just never wanted to give him the reins. And that's one question that
you're right, because
I would love to ask the Colts GM.
Why didn't you let Jacoby Brissett loose and let him do what he wanted to do?
And if you remember, right before it was 2 years ago, Jacoby Brissett brought the Colts all the way back He brought them. That was the year that Andrew Luck decided he didn't want to play right before the season started. So they had no answer. They went to Jacoby Brissett. He leads them almost. They were out of the picture. He starts the last 6 games, gets them back in the playoff picture. They didn't make the playoff, but he got them in the picture.
Yeah.
And then they went out and said, you know what? We're going to get Phillip Rivers for the last hurrah of Phillip Rivers. They do that. Then Jacoby Brissett sticks around for that, says, all right, maybe I can get a shot. They trade for Wentz, and he's gone.
Yeah.
Now they have nobody.
And like I said, they got a problem to solve. Cool McCain says Wentz can't handle competition. That's the truth. That's the truth. He had competition in Philadelphia. He had competition in Indianapolis, and he's going to have competition now.
It's fun. It's funny watching people because we all know Carson Wentz, and we all know Carson Wentz used to play in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I have a lot of Redskins fans on my that I'm around, and I get their tweets and all of that.
Yeah.
And it's funny to see them now saying Carson Wentz is our guy. And I'm like, remember 3 years ago?
That's weird. That's
remember
weird.
3 years ago when you were saying Carson Wentz is the worst quarterback because he played in Philadelphia? I'm like, remember when you said those tweets?
They want to forget. They want to erase those.
Yeah,
they want to erase those.
The jersey erases a lot of the hate that was going towards Carson Wentz.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. And it's still. I'm gonna ask this question tomorrow, and I know you tonight. What do the Colts do for a quarterback? I'm going to answer that. I'm going to pose that question tomorrow during the Football Friday edition of the show. But dude, this is I won't even say this is the craziest free agency moves I've seen. I won't even say that because just when you think it's just when you think it's silent, it roars up again.
I mean, the only reason it's roaring up is because it's quarterbacks. We haven't even gotten to some of the best players like the cornerback Jackson from New England. Yeah. All of those guys are still out there and still going to be. I mean, they're still going to find their way. They're going to find their way to a team, and those are the moves that are going to change what the way teams are. These quarterback moves are, they're great. They're great to talk about, but they're not going to change much.
No, they're not. And what gets me, Seattle trading for Russell Wilson and everybody's going crazy about that deal. What people need to remember is that Russell Wilson's 33 years old and took a pounding the last 5 years in Seattle because of a lack of an offensive line.
And why did they have a lack of offensive? They had a lack of offensive line because Russell Wilson had a contract that is absolutely ridiculous. And they had that's why Seattle said, we're going to pay the quarterback, but we can't pay offensive linemen. That's why they had an NBA. They had a college basketball player playing left tackle. Yeah. That's what they had to do.
Figure that one out.
And
figure that one out for real.
It's gonna be different. It's gonna be different. But I mean, you think about this, and you think about this. It was a blockbuster deal for the Denver Broncos, right?
Blockbuster deal. Who says?
That's all I got to say. How does this change? How does this change the way you feel about the Denver Broncos right now?
It doesn't.
It does. Are they the best? Did that just move them to the best team in the West? No, because there's Kansas City plays there.
There's Kansas City and there's Kansas City and there's San Diego.
Does it move them to second? No, because San Diego is
San Diego's there. San Diego's there. Does it move them to third? No, because Oakland is there. I'm sorry, it doesn't. It doesn't move the meter for me. Gotta let you go. Gotta let you go because my final guest of the day is standing by. But that's Chris Dietz. Catch the Fit Down Sports Show every Thursday at 9 p.m. But you can catch him here every Thursday during the second hour to promote the Fifth Down Sports Show. What you got on the show tonight?
Tonight we're going to do all 32 NFL teams. We're going to do team needs for the draft. So we'll get you all set up for where we're at. All
right, brother. I can't wait. I will check it out tonight. I suggest y'all do too. Thank you, Dietz. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chris Dietz joining us via the Michael Scott Insurance video line. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's the con man, Michael Constacio, joining me to talk some NBA. How are you, brother?
I'm doing well, my brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Will we ever see Ben Simmons play? Because it's March 10th, Sixers and Nets, but no Ben Simmons. What is wrong with this picture?
Well, you know, Brian, the fact is he's not going to play. You know, my philosophy is he should get it done, get it over with. I mean, he makes like damn near $35 million a year. He needs to play. I don't know what his mental issues are, and that's nothing to joke with. But Brian, man, he got to play. He's got to play.
It's like you said, mental issues are nothing to joke with. This is from someone who deals with mental issues, who deals with depression and anxiety, and that's what I went off about on Monday here on the show. He's got to get out there and play, period.
I mean, Brian, he's a young man, has all the talent in the world. I mean, he can't shoot a jump shot for nothing. But besides that, he's great defensively, and he could be a good piece of the pie for the Nets. But he's not playing.
Nope.
I don't get it. I don't think, how are you not going to play?
Yeah, how and why are the two big questions. And on the other side of the ball, you got this fella named James Harden, who I theorize is going to ruin Joel Embiid's progress towards A, an MVP, and B, a world championship.
Well, you know, Ron, the fact is, I mean, he's ball-centric, and, you know, he loves to handle the ball. And you're right, it could be a detriment to Embiid getting the MVP. But what is the final result? I think you have to look at the final result. If it works, but if it don't, you know what I'm saying? If it don't, then it's going to be a problem.
It's going to be a problem. And it's a big problem because, as you said, James Harden is ball-centric. He has to have the ball in his hands. And plus, the playoffs are coming up. And anyone who knows James Harden's history, he seems to disappear in the biggest moments of the playoffs.
You are absolutely correct. The fact is, when you go into the playoffs, you're more into a half-court set. So he's not going to enable him to do his 18,000 dribbles before he takes a jump shot. That's not going to go in the playoffs.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. He didn't say 18. He said 18,000 dribbles. And anyone who's watched James Harden, that's exactly the case. Man, oh man, I love having this man on Talk NBA. You know, I know I'm going to ask a dumb question, but I'll go ahead and ask it. Is it over for the Lakers right now? Are they done?
You know,
that answer, that deep breath you took told me the answer I needed.
Hey, boss, when you lose to the worst team in the NBA, what is?
And this is the same Laker team that was proposed to win 70 games, and they lost to Oklahoma City, giving up a big lead not once but twice.
Correct. And also, when they won the thing in the bubble, they had the best ranked defensive team. They're like 27th in the league right now. Yeah.
And they got 4 months off before they played in the bubble. They got 4 months off. Now they're playing 82. They're playing a full 82 game season, not 72 like last year. They're playing a full 82 game season. They're realizing what the grind truly is. And then on top of that, and I've talked about this all throughout the program, LeBron James is 5 feet from the basket.
Oh,
why did he pass the ball out? For a 3-point shot that missed badly?
Boss man, how you gonna give up a 2 for a 3? At that moment, he was under the basket.
In a tie game.
In a tie game, he could have dunked it.
In a tie game.
I'm at loss for words, boss. I looked at it.
It was a tie game at 120. You're 5 feet from the basket. Go up and tear the rim down, and if they foul you, that's a 3-point play, and you force the Rockets, assuming he makes the free throw, to get 3 instead of 2.
Case closed.
Exactly.
It's a wrap.
And that's not the first time LeBron has been 5 feet from the basket this year and passed the ball out to Carmelo Anthony. Anybody remember that game against the Clippers?
Oh, I do.
When they were down 103 to 102, a layup gives you the lead. You're a basketball savant like I. 2 is better than none. In that case, when you're down by 1, you right there at the rim, scoop it up. You're going to get fouled because someone's going to chop you, given how soft the NBA is right now. Someone's going to chop. I talk about it all the time, and you talk about it with me. All you do is go up. If you get chopped, 1 free throw, you at least have a tie game. But you pass it out to Carmelo for a 40-footer? What?
I absolutely don't understand why he just didn't go up and dunk it or lay it off the backboard, reverse, anything, but to go and send it out to Carmelo. No disrespect to the old guy, but
right, no disrespect at all.
Like you said, 5 feet. Matter of fact, it was less than that.
Because it was less than 5 feet from the bucket.
Yes, correct. Why would he go and take, instead of shooting the layup, he went and passed the ball for a 3-point shot by Carmelo Anthony? I don't get it. You know, LeBron
missed badly.
Oh,
missed badly.
For a guy,
you give it to Carmelo for a 30-footer as the clock winds down, and then Houston blitzed him in overtime with the first 10 points of the period.
I know. Now, boss, my math skills are not that good, but if you shoot a shot within 3 to 4 feet and you shoot one from 30, 40 feet, the percentage will be a lot higher if you shoot closer to the basket.
That's what I was taught. That's what I was taught. That's why I love Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You give him that sky hook 10 feet from the basket on the baseline, you may as well put it in the book and run back on defense.
Absolutely.
That's
100%.
it.
That's
Same with, look, Julius Erving, Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, what they do best, they drove to the hole and got buckets. And if they get fouled, unlike LeBron, they make their free throws.
You know something, boss? I was thinking, you know, everyone's so high on Steph Curry and his amazing shooting skills, which is great. But you know something? To me, being old school that I am, to me, it'd be a lot more efficient if you would take it to the basket. Because like you said, you got the opportunity to get fouled. You got more opportunities when you take it to the basket instead of relying on a 35 or 40-foot jump shot.
Agreed. And you know who used to use the pick and roll a lot to either get wide open threes or drive to the basket? Mark Price.
I'm
going old school on you like I always do. Number 25, Mark Price.
Mark Price played at Georgia Tech. You know me, I know my stuff. Hey, about 6'1", maybe 6'2".
6'1". Yeah, 6'1" out of Georgia Tech, used to kill everybody.
And you know something, boss? You know what his best move? He would break through the double teams. He would dribble through and pull up. He was nice.
And that mid-range game of Mark Price, which is something I think Steph needs to work on a lot more, 15 feet and in. You know, I love Steph Curry. I got a man crush on Steph Curry. Don't get it twisted. But what John Morant has as an advantage that Steph doesn't yet, and I say yet because I think he's going to figure this out, is a mid-range. I mean, we all love when he shoots from like 35 feet and it splashes down. But I'm old school. I love the mid-range game. Michael Cooper used to kill people with his mid-range game.
Yes,
Iceman George Gervin with the Spurs used to kill people with his mid-range game. Well, I don't have to mention Julius Erving or Michael Jordan, who developed a mid-range game. I don't have to mention Larry Bird, who had a mid-range game out of this world. And you block his shot, all you're going to do is catch it again and shoot it with more arc. That's it.
And you left out one guy though, boss. Bernard King.
Bernard King out of Tennessee. Bernard King.
Yes, absolutely.
Bernard King wore the Celtics out.
Absolutely.
With that mid-range. In that terrific series in 1984 that went all 7 games, Bernard King wore the Celtics out. Free throw line in.
Yes.
All right. Free throw line in. Bernard King killed him.
That was the man. He don't get a lot of recognition, a lot of credit, but he was fabulous. He was fantastic.
You know who else? A big man that had a mid-range game? I'll give you 2. Used to play with Seattle. One is Jack Sikma, and the other is Tom Chambers. They both had a jump shot and a mid-range game. And Cole and I talk about this all the time. Jack Sikma with that reverse pivot.
Forget it.
It's going. Forget it. And what did Jack Sikma do when he went to the Bucks? He expanded his game. He stretched it. He stretched out his range. He stretched out his range. And we talk about, Jamal Wilkes' funky shot where he would bring the ball over his head. Jack Sikma had like a one-legged 3-point jump shot that went in most of the time.
Most of the time, absolutely correct. Absolutely.
And then Tom Chambers was just smooth with his mid-range jumper. He would post people up.
Yep, I'm gonna give you a name. I know you're old school like me. I'm gonna give you a name. I've been posting up some things because I don't want his memory to go away. David Thompson.
Oh, Skywalker. David Thompson. Number 44. Iceman wore the same number, 44.
Yes. Yeah.
Iceman and David Thompson wore the same number 44.
And do you remember that? They went to the final day of that NBA season. I don't have it, the year where it came down to David Thompson got 70 points in the afternoon, and George Gervin I think he got 50-something that night. And
56. And I want to say it was 1978.
Well, you're good.
I want to say it was 1978. Hey, I do my research, okay? And I loved watching both David Thompson and George Gervin.
Correct.
I love watching those two. I'm old school like you are. The con man, Michael Constacio, joining me to talk some NBA happening. You know something? Why don't the Nets just give up? Say the Brooklyn experiment hasn't worked and go back to New Jersey. You could either share the Prudential Center in Newark, or you could blow up the Brendan Byrne Arena and rebuild it. Why don't they just say that the Brooklyn experiment did not work? They have not won a championship, nor will they, given the constitution of this team, and just go home.
And they're fighting for the playing game right now as we speak. So,
and this game's going to prove a lot. This game's going to prove a lot. Who has what and where?
Yes. Now, boss, what is your feeling? My feeling is, I think right now, Philly has the edge, but future, I think the Nets have the edge because of all the picks they received from Philadelphia. What do you think?
It depends on who the picks are.
Good point. Yeah,
it depends on who the picks are, because the next couple of years, the draft's going to be weak.
Very weak.
I mean, Cade Cunningham went to the Detroit Pistons.
Yes.
Who the hell knew Cade Cunningham would turn out like this? We're not going to know the answer to that question for another 5 years.
You're absolutely correct. You're right.
Because it depends on the picks. It depends on the team who needs. It depends on what New Jersey needs, and it depends on who the coach is. Because I love you, Steve Nash. I love you, Frank Vogel, but these are two sitting ducks.
Yes.
They're sitting ducks.
Oh, yeah.
And I hate saying that about those two, but look at the situation. The Nets are barely at 500 right now with 16 games left in the season. And it could be very possible that even with Ben Simmons, they could drop not only into the playoff to play-in round, but out of it, given the inconsistency of the last 40 games.
And you, as you know, old school that you are, chemistry is a main factor. And because
yes, it is.
inconsistency of that guy Kyrie, who's out. He's out of his mind. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think with the fact that they have no chemistry because they haven't had guys on the court enough, I think that's going to be a detriment to their success this year.
And I've said that all year. I've said that all year with the Kyrie drama going on, and it is a drama. People trying to say, oh, it's just him making a decision. Come on, it's drama. It's drama because he's employed by the Nets organization. He's employed by the NBA, and in all honesty, he's breaking his contract.
Exactly.
He's breaking his contract, and no one calls him, well, except you and I, no one calls him out on the fact that he is breaking his contract. And I've said often on this show, people have asked me, what would you do with Kyrie Irving? I will borrow from Michael Kay up in New York, the man of the Michael Kay show. I'd release his ass today, and I wouldn't blink.
I agree, because the fact that Durant and Harden went there was because of Kyrie and for his idiosyncrasies or whatever's wrong with him.
And Kyrie blew them both off.
Yes. And I've been watching some shows, and Kyrie's playing it off, but we all know what happened. Why do you think Harden really? He wanted to go to Philly, but he went there figuring that, hey, I'm gonna have Kyrie, I'm gonna have KD. That didn't happen.
He tried to walk to an easy championship, and it blew up in his face. And he's gonna try to do the same thing in Philadelphia.
I agree.
He's gonna try to do the same thing he's gonna try to do the same thing in Philadelphia. How much do the Nets miss Jared Allen right now on the inside? How much do they miss him?
Well,
how much do they miss Karis LeVert?
Oh, yes. If they had stuck to their guns, now Jared Allen, he signed a max contract. That must tell you something, how valuable he is to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Exactly. And they didn't, and the Nets didn't want to sign him to a max contract. Why? I mean, really, it's just it's stupid. Some of the moves that the Nets have made, stupid. Trading Jared Allen, who was your best interior defender. You got Karis LeVert, who reminds me so much of Bernard King because of not only his post-up game but his mid-range game. Okay, the Nets and the Sixers are just swapped problems with Ben Simmons and James Harden. They just swapped problems.
I agree. And also, boss, the fact that you said Jared Allen at that time and LeVert were shot money.
Yep.
And to go get someone who making over $40 million a year, do the math. Do the math.
You just cost yourself a lot. 40 million a year, man. Please. Kyrie would have knocked on my door. I'd have slammed it in his face. I'm sorry.
I might be right behind you.
I'm sorry. I cannot deal with a player who is me first and is not going to have any kind of positive impact on the team or in the community. Period. I'm sorry. I will not do that.
And the fact too, boss, is the fact he's hurting the rest of the players to be able to have the chemistry because he's taking their time every other game or every other 3 games or whatever. So they can't have no continuity to progress and grow as a team because he comes in.
Correct.
He might miss 4 games and then go on the road and play a game. Now the other teammates are going to be like, whoa, what up? He's going to hurt the progression of the other teammates.
The chemistry with the Nets is ruined. And you can blame Kyrie Irving for that.
Absolutely.
You can blame Kyrie Irving and his entire situation for that. That's the con man, Michael Constacio, joining me here to talk all things NBA. You can see and hear him every Thursday as we'll take you to and through the playoffs and to and through the World Championship. Thanks a lot, Mike. I love you, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Boss, love you. Peace out.
Man, that's why I love having the guests that I do have on the program. That's why I love having the folks that tune in. Hey, keep that same energy, guys, when the Lakers win the championship. I've been laughing at that since the quote came out. And I love what Sick Diggy just said. Irving's consistently inconsistent. Ain't that the truth? speaking of consistent, that's my final point today. And I want to get this out there. And I'm going to continue to apologize when I'm not on the air. And I'm going to continue to apologize when I do half-ass shows. Because if there's one thing my father taught me, don't half-ass do it. Do it all. If you're going to do it all the way. And I can tell you coming up that the only thing that is stopping me, that will stop me, will be surgery to remove this cancerous tumor and my recovery time. I'm going to spend a week in the hospital, and my surgeon told me it'll be about 6 weeks before I'm back to full strength. But even during that recovery time, if I can give y'all a couple of hours a day, and then I have someone, and I'm going to be looking for an intern here that will cut the pieces out of the show and post them, then I'm good. If I can give y'all a couple of hours a day while I'm recovering, then great. If not, then I will let you guys know. Anyone who follows me on YouTube and social media, they'll know. And I will know probably the night before how I'm feeling. But you know something? I never did show this shirt. My wife got me this shirt that says, thanks to cancer, I got to open up a can of whoop ass on it. And I am. I was talking with my wife this morning, and she said that a big weight was lifted off of her shoulders now that she knew I am going to beat this cancer. And I had to be cheerful for both of us. And I completely understand that, because she's a planner. She's a contingency planner. Me, I just looked at the big picture. Can you get this thing out of me? Yes, good. Let's roll. I just have to wait on a phone call from scheduling to get this thing in. Vinny Hardy said, hope all goes well with the surgery, brother. Thank you, Vinny. Thank you, Vinny. I will keep everybody up to date, either here or via social media, what's going on. And God willing, y'all will see me the night before and the day of my surgery. As I said, I'm just waiting on a phone call. But I'm going to turn this show into $2 billion a year. I'm going to turn this show into $2 billion a year, and I'm going to do it within the next 24 months. Sick Dicky says, so you're going to beat it like Michael. Damn straight. You're damn straight I am. I'm going to beat this like all the greats beat their opponents. Bird, Magic, MJ, Abdul-Jabbar, Maurice Cheeks, Julius Erving, Moses Malone. Yeah. I'm going to kick it in the ass. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention my wife, Jody. And she looked me in the eye and said, quote, I feel like you're giving up, close quote. That turned the light on for me. I will indeed be safe, Sick Diggy. I will indeed be safe. And as I said, if I can't go on the next day, you guys will know. When she said to me, I feel like you're giving up, that flipped the switch for me. You know, I love the folks at Duke Hospital, but let's be real. Let me be real. And my wife made me realize this, got treated like an afterthought after the chemo didn't work. Come up here, and Dr. Roganoff, my oncologist, said, we're going to get the ball rolling. Next thing I knew, I had an appointment with Dr. Akib, which was this past Tuesday. And he said, yeah, we'll take care of you. Showed me everything that was going on, too. Showed me everything that was going on. And what's going to get taken out, where the incision is going to be. Yeah. And it brought me more joy seeing my wife happy. Seeing my wife internally jump up and down, because now there's more than hope. And I love this. Soon we'll be seeing you wear a cancer survivor t-shirt like Uncle Charlie Wilson. Damn straight. And I'm going to be more than a cancer survivor. I'm going to thrive. I just set a goal that I can guarantee you no one expects me to reach, except my wife and except the folks here in the chat that have been with me. I plan to turn this show into $2 billion a year. Not million, billion. I plan to turn this show into $2 billion a year, period. And I already know everyone outside of my circle doesn't expect that to happen. I say, bullshit. It's gonna happen, period. It's going to happen. And for those who don't believe that it's gonna happen, you're a loss. It's going to happen, period. And I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to keep grinding toward it. 8 figures, and I told my partner Cole Johnson this, 8 figures in the bank account before the decimal point. Because you know you have these smart asses that want to say, oh, is that before or after the decimal point? Shut up. Just plain shut up. I borrow from the late, great Kobe Bryant. I don't chase, I attract. I will attract the right people that will invest in the show. I will attract the right people that will be advertisers on the show. I will attract the right people that will donate and sponsor the show. You see the scroll at the bottom of the screen? If you feel it in your heart, a donation would be great. If you feel it in your heart, just drop a donation to paypal.me/snowman2172. That would be awesome. My time is up. Tomorrow, it's the Football Friday edition with a little bit of basketball to start as Stacy Purcell will join me to talk about the shot heard round the SEC. Dreonna Edwards. Let me get out of here. And I'm going to need a brilliant financial advisor, an amazing accountant, and a kick-ass attorney. You better believe it. And we, because this is a team effort, will acquire all 3. And Sick Diggy, I'm going to require you to bring your ass over here so you can meet my wife, Jody. You're in this too, partner. Vinny with the well wishes, you're in this too. Cool McCain, you already know. Eric Wallace, you already know also. Anybody who has ridden shotgun with me on this program or on the program where I'm on with Charles Faulkner, they already know. Y'all already know what it is. Ivan Dawkins, you too. The folks at BS3 Network, thank you for allowing a Snowman and Cole Johnson an opportunity to show what we can do. I mean that. I mean that. Thanks for giving us an opportunity to show what we can do. And we got a lot more to show you. My time is up, like I said. Matter of fact, I've gone over time, but thank you all for being patient with me. Thank you all for allowing me to be me. For all the networks that air the show, thank you for allowing me to be me. I truly appreciate it. Have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move. And always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, then they're not big enough. Dream big, do bigger. We are. Hope y'all are too. Snowman's out of here. See you tomorrow.